Everyone rushed back to their stations. Xander hastily returned to the military academy, but it was chaotic at the entrance gate. Just as the soldiers were about to fashion themselves into order, a centurion could be heard barking commands for marching discipline.
"Are you soldiers of the Empire or barbarians? Fall in the bloody line!"
He roared overhead on horseback. That was Bryant, the least liked officer in the entire academy. With striking golden hair and blue eyes, Bryant came from a long line of legendary soldiers and imperial senators. An impressive military lineage, but now it was his turn to shine. With order and discipline returning, all recruits stood by their stations. While it may not be the first time Xander had seen such an awesome display of military extravagance and discipline, he is nonetheless in awe every single time. Josephine stood next to him as that was her original station, while the newly graduated recruits stand by their own positions. The active combatants and veteran officers stood at the ready and waiting.
"Recruits, attention!" another officer roared. "At the half step, march!"
Xander and the rest of the new recruits obeyed and marched in unison towards the largest building nearby. Judging by the incoming crowd, he knew this was going to be the selection process, the final step for a hero to become a Legionnaire. No lights were allowed into the building. It was dimly lit, and only enough light was permitted to enter to allow the spectators to see where everyone was standing. Xander could only see so much, but it's not like he needed to. All he needed to do was pay attention to the general standing so high above them. The general announces himself as Legatus Armstrong. He was easily the tallest man in the whole building, while everyone else looked like they were a foot shorter. This special ceremony has been pushed forward to today instead of tomorrow, but he didn't say why. And so, the selection process begins. One by one, names are called out, and each must perform their special skills, if any. They would then be judged and put into a proper legion, fitting to their skills and their knowledge. Xander is finally called out to the front. He explained that he cannot perform magic and be wished to put into an ordinary infantry unit. Bryant, the centurion from before, scoffed at him and told him to stand aside. Xander obeyed without further objection. Now, Josephine was called forward. Josephine requested to be hit by a spell. Bryant obliged by shooting a thunderbolt. Josephine showed her skill and prowess by deflecting it, but shock and horror filled the room as the spell deflected hit Xander square in the chest. Xander was blinded for a moment as he felt a tingling, tickling sensation, and as the blindness fell away, he found himself standing at attention, alone. Everyone else was either on the floor or a good distance away from him. The lightning spell shot by Bryant was evidently very powerful, but Xander didn't feel a thing from it. The centurion ordered everyone back to their barracks. Everyone but Xander. Josephine didn't even have time to look at Xander or speak to apologize as she followed her cohort out of the building. The officers immediately surrounded Xander with the general right behind them. So, he said, you are a soldu. What is a soldu? Xander asked. It is simply what you are, the general replied. Tribuni! Front and center! A girl with black hair tied in a tail appeared out of nowhere. Like many other officers, she was fully armored, but hers was different. The padding wasn't the same. The decorations on her armor wasn't the same. Her colors were not of military standard red, but a shade of dark violet.
Yes, Domine?
She responded as she approached Xander. Does this one fit the bill? The general asked. Her gaze was uncomfortable to Xander as she looked at him from top to bottom.
He'll do just fine,
She said with a smile, even though it made Xander feel very uneasy. Then it's settled. Congratulations on graduating, Xander. Welcome to the 14th Legion, the general said. Tribune, escort the new soldier to the tower.
Yes, Domine.
She answered with a gentle tone.
Follow me, Comelito.